Now loading podcast, period.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Podcast Period, the internet's stupidest podcast. My name is Ben, and with me today, in person this time, is my co-host David.
As always, wonderful to see you
guys. Today, we're doing a little bit of a special episode. So, since David's been down here, we've been watching a lot of things. One of those things being The Last Airbender, the show that just dropped on Netflix a few weeks ago. And we watched the god-awful live-action adaptation by our good friend M. Night Shyamalan.
Woof.
Yeah.
We'll get to that, though.
No kidding. Okay. Before we get into how terrible the movie is, what do you think of the show?
I love the show. I always have loved the show. In fact, I was really surprised to find as many people that actually like the show. Like, for some reason, I always thought it was like my weird go-to back when I was in middle school. Whenever it came out originally, it may have even been elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
It was 2005, I think.
2007 to 2010, I believe.
So that would have been middle school then, but like early middle school, I think. So I think
2010 would have been early high school.
Early high school, yeah.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was just like that weird thing that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really surprised to see the following that it does have. I appreciate it a lot more now than I did then.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a lot nicer to be able to see it in its full context versus,
watching an episodes here and there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Spread out over 3+ years or however long it took them to do, and only being able to do one episode a week and missing episodes here and there. And it's just nice to be able to digest it all at once. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot easier to, I don't know if it's easier to follow, but it's just easier to keep the details.
It's definitely a show that's good for binge watching.
Yes.
There is a few filler episodes, but it's nice to be able to keep the plot going because it does have a nice pace if you're watching it that way.
Yeah.
Me personally, I do really enjoy the show, but I never watched it when I was growing up. I heard a lot about it when I was in school, obviously, because it's a pretty big deal, unbeknownst to you, clearly, but it was a pretty big deal back then, and I don't know, I caught like an episode here and there. I never really got the appeal, but finally after graduating high school, I decided to seek it out myself, and I binge watched the whole thing on a less than legal website and probably less than DVD quality. So it was nice to go back and rewatch it in full HD quality on Netflix. So yeah, I think the show is a masterpiece. Like I said before, there's quite a few filler episodes that don't necessarily drive the plot forward. But as far as the overarching plot goes, it's a fantastic narrative. One that I don't think we've seen repeated since in like a cartoon form.
No, I haven't seen it since.
Yeah. So, do you want to go season by season and then kind of talk about the movie?
That sounds like a plan.
Okay, so season 1. What did you think about that whole plot? Because I feel like that season may have had the most filler episodes because there wasn't really a whole lot as far as advancing the plot goes. So he tried to go to Boomy, that was his Earth Master.
Mm-hmm.
Was Zhang Zhang in the first season or was he the second season?
I want to say he was part of the first. Yeah, no, he's in the first season.
Yeah, so he spends a lot of the time trying to find a master,
Mm-hmm.
but that's only 2 episodes out of what, the 20 something episode season.
Yeah, I mean we start out with the introduction of the Avatar early in their first few episodes that are still in the Southern Water Tribe.
Yeah, that's like the first 2 or 3.
Yeah, so we get the introduction of the basic characters that at least mean something. Aang and Katara and Sokka, Prince Zuko, Iroh, and a couple of the others. And then it's a lot of hop, skip, jumping around. I mean, they literally went all over the blessed map.
Pretty much, yeah.
And some of them are complete fillers. And you get to the Warriors of Kyoshi Island, which play a critical part later. But as far as season 1 goes, it feels like a filler. It's an introductory episode, sure, but it felt like a filler episode because it didn't really do anything to advance the plot for that particular season.
Season 1 is very much like a monster of the week sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But as far as how everything plays into the plot, I think season 1 is very, very influential because a lot of the people in season 1 come in later on down the line in seasons 2 and 3, especially season 3.
Exactly.
So if you're looking at the overall plot, some of those episodes wouldn't necessarily be considered filler.
No, because
a
lot of good stuff.
Yeah,
was important.
Yeah, but when you're watching it in just that season, if just that season existed,
exactly,
it would be a whole ton of filler with 4, maybe 5 episodes of actual plot.
Exactly. I mean, what's important? The introduction of the Avatar.
Boomy, I would say, is a
pretty important. That teaches Aang a lot of
a little bit of earthbending. Yeah, and perspective.
And then the winter solstice trip to the Fire Sage's temple, where Roku explains.
No, it's Roku. It's Avatar Roku.
It is Roku. Yeah.
Like the streaming box.
Only thing that they didn't mispronounce in the blessed movie, and actually, I don't even.
They
didn't because he wasn't introduced.
Nope.
Okay, well, they would have butchered that too.
They didn't talk about any of the previous avatars in the Last Airbender. We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
So that one's important because that sets up the stage for what he needs to do: master the elements, defeat the Fire Lord. Not that any of that's important for season 1 in its context. So it is kind of a filler episode, but it also gives you enough backstory to be somewhat helpful for that particular season.
Yeah.
It's not the best, but it does help a little bit. That's really it until you get to the end.
Pretty much.
Until you get finally to where they get to the north.
The Northern Water
Tribe and
that's only even a 2-parter episode, isn't it?
Episode. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's introduced at the very end of the third to last episode. But that's it.
Yeah.
So it's a 2-part finale, and that's it. There's not a whole lot left in that. I think that counts. So you're right. It is a lot of filler. I didn't really think about that at the time, because I feel like season 3 has a lot more filler than season 1 does. But
see, the difference,
context that you put it, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I feel like the difference between the filler in the later seasons and the filler in this season is they've already established all of the character relationships within the first few episodes of the first season. So there's not really much of a dynamic to explore per se. There's a few episodes that kind of explore character relationships in the first episode, but especially in the second season, there's a lot more. There's a lot more B plots with Zuko and Iroh, and kind of explaining how Zuko's mindset is changing over the course of the season, and how it leads into the third season with him finally joining. Aang and everybody, him teaching Aang firebending.
Team Avatar.
Yes, So, I feel like in that sense, the second and third season filler episodes are more about exploring character relationships and maybe giving a little bit of levity to the overall giant plot that they're trying to resolve, especially in the third season. And comparatively, the first season episodes, while, like we said, they do introduce a lot of people that enter in later on down the line, they don't really seem like anything except, oh, we're here, there's a problem, we need to fix it. Let's get it fixed, and then we're moving on to the next place.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. The meeting the pirates. There's a whole lot of that. Haru and his father.
Yeah.
So which again, important people later.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, there is a couple of those in the later seasons, like the episode, I can't remember which season it's in, but when they go to that Fire Nation village, guess it's the third season because they're in the Fire Nation like that entire season. The Fire Nation village in the middle of that dirty lake.
Painted Lady episode.
Yeah,
that's season 3.
Yeah. That one feels very much like we need to solve this problem and get out of here episode.
Yes, which more for the grand scheme of things more feels like it's a season 1 appropriate episode. I gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Like, so there's a few of those, but I feel like overall the season 2 and 3 filler episodes are definitely serve more to help build character relationships and bring levity to that giant plot that they're trying to resolve.
Exactly.
So yeah, season 1 is a very good introductory season. I still find it enjoyable, especially when binge watching the entire thing. I feel like if we were watching it week by week by week, some of those season 1 filler episodes I would have felt like a little gypped watching it,
a little bit.
Because it doesn't feel like I said, it doesn't feel like they're advancing the plot much in most of those, but being able to watch it and be like, oh, that was an interesting episode, and being able to move on into all of the other ones really helps.
I think I remember as a kid being like, well, this doesn't get us to the problem any sooner. We're kicking the can down the road. Give me the next resolution. Dang it. I want to know what happened next, because you went like 3 episodes ago, you introduced this kind of subplot, and you skipped 3 whole episodes before you came back to it, and by the time you get to that, it's like, what happened? Which I do have to give them credit for this, and you don't notice it as much in Netflix because of Netflix's skip the introductory credits type system that they got going on there.
Yeah.
They did a really good job of reopening up a shot and establishing what happened previously on Avatar and refreshing your memory as to what has happened, and be like, okay, this and this are very critical into this episode.
Especially later, like the later seasons when they're reintroducing characters from that first season. Exactly. They show like I remember the one in particular with that must have been the second season, because this was with the Dai Li in Ba Sing Se.
Yeah.
When they're reintroducing Jet.
Yes.
They showed that little clip at the beginning, and you're like, oh yeah, it's that guy. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
So they do a very, very good job with recapping everything as far as that goes. But like you said, when you're watching it on Netflix just skips over that, which I'm completely fine with that. Yeah.
Especially if you're binging it as quickly as you are. It's hard to forget small, subtle details like that.
Yeah.
Where I think it is very important that they did it when it was actually being aired on television. They didn't have the luxury of showing you everything at once. So I really liked how they did it, and they did a good job. But Netflix just totally flies right over that. Yeah, which they don't have to worry about it. It's fine.
No, anybody that's watching it on Netflix is more than likely binge watching. Exactly. They're not. I'm just going to watch an episode today, and then I'll watch an episode, I don't know, sometime next week.
It takes them a year to finish.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's on you. If you do that, then don't be skipping the credits.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's. I don't think there's anything else we can talk about in the first season. Um, like I said, it's a very good introductory season. I like how it ended
Yep.
with General Zhao finally getting his own, and then Aang wrecking House by combining with the ocean spirit and
Yeah.
becoming that giant water fish thing.
Mhm.
Man,
That was really cool to see.
that was epic.
I have to admit, I didn't realize. I don't know if it's because I didn't catch the season finale the way it was intended, or if I missed half of it. I didn't realize what was happening in that scene when I first watched it, and I'm thinking to myself, this is kind of crappy. And then I got into the next season. It's like, okay, no, I do like this show. This show is good.
Mm-hmm.
Watching it again on Netflix the first time and being able to watch that in its full context, it's like, oh, this is what happened. This is actually really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, season 1, okay. Let's go on to season 2.
All right. So,
What are your overall thoughts for that?
so they do a really good job. I think there's a couple of episodes in season 3 that do a better job of opening backstory
Mm-hmm.
into it. But I think season 2 did a really good job of bringing in a lot of the backstory as to what is happening, and I really, really like it for that. Um, Overall, I think it progresses a little bit more uniformly. We're
Mm-hmm.
not jumping all over the map. It seems like these missions have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just going wherever willy nilly. Because Aang is kind of willy nilly in the first season. Like
Yeah.
he's not focused. They eventually start honing in a focus and a need to do things in a certain order. We're not just going out having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Which I get. He's 12, and he's not entirely realizing what has happened just yet. So, second season, I think they did a better job of this is the mission, and this is where we're going, and this is why.
Mm-hmm.
So they feel like they progress a little bit more with purpose. I don't. I'm trying to think of maybe filler episodes that didn't really fit in.
I
But I'm not
can't.
really seeing any
I
that.
can't think, especially once they've gotten into Ba Sing Se.
Yeah.
I can't think of any episodes that. I mean, there may have been a few that could have been considered filler, but they also had elements that added to the overarching plot.
Yeah, I think, and I could be wrong because I'm not looking at a list of them right in front of me. I would guess the biggest quote filler episode would be Tales of Ba Sing Se. But
Yeah.
I just love that episode so much, anyways, that I don't consider it filler episode, and it does really tie in nicely into. I would say this is definitely for me the most heartbreaking season out of all of
Mm-hmm.
them. The whole situation with Appa breaks my heart the entire time.
Oh
This
yeah,
is the
yeah,
first
yeah.
time I didn't see or that I saw the episodes and didn't cry through them. And I don't know if that was just because I was watching them with Ben, or if it was because I was more recently exposed to it than I had been because it's only been like 3 weeks since I've seen them last time I watched
Mm-hmm.
them. Whereas the time before that, it's been like, oh, wow, this has been a long time since I've seen this. I
Mm-hmm.
forgot how painful this is. Because they did a really good job of tying Momo's story into it,
Mm-hmm.
going straight into Appa's last days. So, is it a filler episode? Yes. But it does a lot of good character development. We get
Mm-hmm.
the character development between Toph and Katara. We get Tale of Iroh, which is my favorite
Mm-hmm.
out of all of those. The Sokka one was completely filler. There was no purpose for Sokka and his haikus.
Oh yeah.
That was just Sokka being Sokka. It was funny,
Yeah.
but there's no backstory.
See,
There's no character development.
That's the thing though. That's one of those moments of levity that we
Yes,
you know?
and you needed it after because I think they did that one after Tale of Iroh. Not positive,
Mm-hmm.
but you needed something to have. It was a good comic relief.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering correctly, because I think it did the Toph and Katara, and then Iroh, and then Sokka, and then or did Aang in there somewhere too? Were there 5 of those short stories in that analog anthology episode, or is it just 4?
I don't. I mean, if Aang's was in there, I don't remember what his
The
was.
zoo, the zookeeper story.
That's right.
Which
Yeah.
again is also that wasn't character development either. That was just Aang having a little adventure.
Yeah.
It was nice to see him thoroughly caught up into something else.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was focused on doing something and doing something good for somebody else. He wasn't focusing on Appa, which was nice to see, because after a couple of episodes of seeing the heartbreak with that, it was good to see him focused on something else and being lighthearted in his spirit.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't down in the dumps, so that was good. Toph was introduced in the second season. She wasn't in the first season at all.
No, yeah.
So that whole introduction was really good.
I can't remember when she was.
It had to be in the first few episodes.
Yeah, it definitely had to
they
be.
go, their beginning mission is to go to Omashu and find Boomy again, so that Aang can have a earthbending master to teach him earthbending.
Mm-hmm.
And then we find out that Omashu has fallen into control of the Fire Nation. So then shortly thereafter that, we get the introduction into Toph, which I liked how they did it, but I have problems with that episode a little bit. I hate the boulder. The third person to reference. I know what they were doing with that. They were trying to be cute and funny with it, because I guess somebody else in the wrestling world does that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Referring to themselves in the third person. I don't know. It's not my cup of tea. But
Can
whatever.
you smell what the Rock is cooking?
Exactly. Was it the Rock?
I mean, probably the boulder, the Rock. Eh?
Huh, wow. I did not put that together, but did he?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't think he referred to himself in the third person constantly, but that was his tagline. Can you smell what the Rock is cooking?
Was it?
Yeah.
Wow. See, I did not know this. I don't think I ever watched him in any wrestling thing though, so whatever. Like him more as an actor than anything else. What else? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I like the second season as a whole. Like I don't remember much of the episodes outside of Ba Sing Se. I remember vaguely the one where they pick up Katara, or not Katara, Toph.
Okay, so I guess the big ones. They meet Toph after Omashu, which gives us the introduction into Azula and May and Ty Lee, which is very important. So we get the introduction to those three. Zuko and Iroh are running as refugees from the Fire Nation because of what happened in the events of the season 1 finale. You've got Appa being lost, the critical library episode where we get the information of the eclipse.
That was also the same episode that Appa got kidnapped.
Which Appa got kidnapped. And there's a lot that happened in that episode. As much as I hate that episode. I don't like Wang Xi. I can't even pronounce his name right now, but I don't like the great big scary owl. He just... I know what he did and why he did it, but he just seems like a giant dick to me. His attitude needs some adjustment. So there's that. It gives us the invasion plan. The whole... Everything else important is Ba Sing Se.
Yeah.
Dai Li, Lake Lao guy. The whole conspiracy keeping the Earth King in the shadows about everything. Hasn't even been outside Blessed Palace.
Yeah. Where was the episode where Toph learns metal bending? Was that in... That was in the third season, wasn't it?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
So I'm pretty sure they were in a Fire Nation village where it was the episode where they were scamming people.
Nope. She learned earthbending before learned metal bending before that. The only reason why she couldn't escape in the episode is because of the wooden cell.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which somebody was in on, obviously, because how else were you going to just randomly throw one person in a wooden cell when you literally had an iron bar cell right next to it? So, Combustion Man, I guess, is what we're going to call him. I guess that's what they called him in the series. I guess had some back information on that and set up that whole thing. So metal bending, second season. What else?
Oh yeah, that's right. She got a letter from her mom.
Yes,
and that's what happened.
What happened. Yeah, that's when they all split up at Ba Sing Se. Katara and Sokka are going to go see. Well, I think they were originally both going to go see Hakoda, their father.
Yep.
Aang needed to go find Guru Patik so that he could finally figure out how to control the Avatar state.
Yeah,
and was going to go see.
This was like right before the season finale.
Yes. Yeah, right before the coup and everything happens. That's what leads into the coup. Because as they are leaving, and if they had just waited a little bit longer, they would have realized that it was Azula, Mai, and Ty Lee that had defeated the Kyoshi warriors, and that they were imposters. But they had all left by that time. So, well, there we go. Done. The coup is set up. I love that. Azula proves how methodical and manipulative she can be. One of her great attributes, I guess, if you want to call it.
Yeah. It really all that sets her up really, really well, and it contrasts neatly against how she is in the final few episodes of the third season with her.
Yes,
having been betrayed by everybody. And her becoming extremely paranoid, and then she just has no plan whatsoever. No. She's just pure rage, I guess you could say.
Which I guess that proves that with her having a plan is definitely the way to go with her, because she cannot do stuff in the moment.
Yeah.
It has to be methodically planned out. She cannot improvise at all, clearly. Whereas the others have shown a great resilience and improvising their ways out of situations all the time. Whereas she obviously can't. Zuko does a really good job of improvising. Aang does. Iroh, the introduction of why I'm called the Dragon of the West, and literally breathes fire out of his mouth. The first time we ever see that. Really cool. I loved it. I think that's it for season 2 as far as big things, until you get to the very end where the coup happens, and then Azula taking over everything.
Taking over Ba Sing Se, yep.
Fall of Ba Sing Se. Shooting Aang in the Avatar state, which I thought that was a death blow at first. I was quite shocked.
It was. He was dead.
Yeah. So I guess he's dead then. He'd have to be, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. Good for Katara, I guess. I thought maybe it was just like a deep down coma or something.
No, I'm pretty sure he was dead. The only reason he came back was because of the spirit water. Which almost got used on Zuko, but luckily, things happened.
That would have sucked.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, here, Zuko, I healed you. Oh, well, thanks. I'm going to turn on you. And now Aang's dead. What are we going to do now? Nothing. Yeah. Everything sucks.
Yeah, that would have sucked.
Yeah. Luckily, that is not what happened.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't think of anything super big other than that happened in the third season, or the second season. I think the big ones are us meeting Toph learning metal bending, and then the season finale.
Yeah.
I mean, there was still a pretty big plot, but those are the major plot points.
Because everything else I think is filler. Serpent's Pass I feel like is filler.
Yeah. There's a lot of them getting to Ba Sing Se.
Yeah, there's a lot of traveling to Ba Sing Se, but
Mm-hmm.
to me it's all filler. I mean, some of it is Aang and Appa being separated. Some of it's the travels there. Some of it is, at least Aang has a little bit higher esteem at the end of the Serpent's Pass when he sees the child being born, giving him new hope.
Mm-hmm.
The drill, I think, is filler. I loved the episode.
Oh yeah, the drill is a fantastic episode.
It's a fantastic episode, but it is filler.
Mm-hmm.
Because what was the point otherwise? They finally get to Ba Sing Se, yes, but it did nothing for the actual plot itself, except for showing that Azula is a methodical mastermind and almost thought of a way to get in.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't work.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's just filler. Love it, but it's filler. Does nothing for the plot.
Okay, so then season 3, the final season. Final animated season, anyway. What do you think about it?
So, I like the introduction to the third season being somewhat spoiled in the second season because we see Katara bring Aang back before the end of the episode in the season finale of 2. So you definitely know that it's not going to be like a cliffhanger type deal where you're like, oh gosh, what's going to happen?
See,
so
I don't
go
know.
into some optimism.
I don't know if they would have been able to end a kid's show season finale like that.
Yeah.
It's like, he's dead.
Yeah, he's dead. Which I've seen plenty of other shows that do that.
100%. But none of them are geared towards kids.
No. But you're like, I don't know if I want to watch this.
Yeah.
They didn't do that way, so that was good. I found it very interesting that they were all of a sudden on a Fire Nation ship. You had no precedent for that.
Yeah.
And so finding out that they can manage by themselves as long as they have hope and stuff. I don't like Aang's mindset in the beginning. Feeling like I understand the feeling how he feels like he's failed, but I don't like the other part of that mindset where nobody can accomplish anything unless I'm helping.
Yes.
This feeling of uselessness, I failed, I understand, but acting like the others can't take care of everything without his help also is like, well, come on. They're there. They got your back. You're okay. They'll figure this out. Stand down for a moment. And it's like, it shows the saying of it shows the side of Aang that I don't always like. Sometimes he is a little bit too self-centered.
Yeah.
And has been in many episodes. Especially in season 1. But even going further, it's like, your personality sometimes ticks me off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it just doesn't feel like there's a purpose to season 3. Season 2 was methodical and thought out. Season 3 feels like we've gone back to season 1 to where we just take things as they happen. There's not an actual plan in motion. At least not to me. I could be wrong.
Well, I mean,
you've got the invasion plan.
They were trying to get to the the
rendezvous point.
Exactly.
Yeah. I guess. It just felt like there's a lot of filler going into it. The Painted Lady episode.
Yeah.
I guess bloodbending isn't really going to be filler considering how important it became after the series ended, but as far as this series goes, you only see it twice.
Yeah, once during that one episode, and then the next time when Katara's hunting down the
Southern Raiders.
yeah.
The command, which I forget his name, but the commander of the Southern Raiders for what happened to her mother. Which I forgot that she did that, honestly. And I forgot again. Like, when I saw it here, I was like, oh, crap, that's right. I forgot she bloodbends one last time.
Yeah.
Because I thought that Hana was the last time she used it. The one and only time she used it. Because of how she felt. She didn't like that power at all. She didn't want to use it. She was forced into it.
Oh, see, we'll obviously get into more of the movie when we're talking about it next. But I remember in the movie her grandmother saying something about her lost friend Hana.
Oh. Did they?
Yeah, they did.
Okay. You'll have to explain that one to me.
It was when they were still in the village.
I'm sure.
Katara and Sokka were talking to the grandmother, and she was saying something about. Can't remember if she was like telling a story or whatever, but she definitely mentioned something about her friend Hana who got taken away or something like that.
Okay. I missed that part. What else is there? What do you think about that so far?
The third season, I think, is, I don't know, it's definitely a lot of filler, but I mean, there's also a lot of Aang wrestling with himself.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of him wrestling with how useful he actually is.
Yeah.
And then him trying to find a way to not have to kill Ozai in the end, which he does actually find.
Yeah.
So in that way, I still think it's a pretty good season. I would consider it still better than season 1.
Yes.
But I don't know if I would consider it better than season 2 as an entire season.
As an entire season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotcha.
But yeah, it's still I still really enjoy the third season as a whole.
I think, and I might be wrong, or I might be slightly misremembering exactly what information comes out of which season, but I think we get the most backstory out of season 3 and some of the most important backstory, especially the Fire Lord and the I forget exactly how they worded the title of the episode, but I think it was the Avatar and the Fire Lord or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
But seeing the relationship between Zozan and Roku.
Yeah.
That entire thing, understanding the demise of Zuko's grandfather, which the entire time you're watching that episode, you think they're talking about Sozan, and he literally goes to Iroh and he goes, this should be renamed the information that everybody already knows, because there wasn't anything new learned there as far as what had happened, where he spent his final days. It's like, well, we knew this. He spent his final days looking for the Avatar in vain because he escaped the genocide against the air nomads. But what else is there? And then you realize the bloodline that is shared between Zuko and Roku. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that's not going to be important later at all. So I really like that. Getting more of the lore into it was always my favorite about season 3. I don't know why. This is one of those shows where the more I learn about it, the more I fall more in love with it. I just like finding out all this stuff, and it's like, most of the time I don't care. It's like, put 2 and 2 together on that. Okay, that's cool.
To be fair, there's not really very many shows that have a backstory and world building as deep as this one can be.
Yeah.
Because they do a really good job of building the world and kind of establishing the rules, but as far as building the world goes, they build only what they need to serve the plot.
Yep.
And everything else is left up to the imagination, which is why, I mean, I wish Korra was better. I do. Eventually, maybe I'll go back and try to
Eventually,
rewatch it.
yes, I need to as well. Because
Yeah.
I think I completely missed season 1 entirely because I didn't know they made a new show. And I don't think I saw any of 3 and 4.
Yeah,
I think I remember seeing bits and pieces of season. If I'm remembering the seasons correctly, I think season 2 is the one with Unalak in it. And if that's the one, then that's the only one I really saw. And everything else that happened apparently in that series is actually really good. But I don't know. I haven't gotten into it. Can't.
Yeah, but that's the reason why a sequel show is allowed to exist, and plus all of these graphic novels that you and I are just now finding out about.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this existed?
Yeah,
I wish
know.
I knew this existed a
would've-
long time ago.
I would have binge read those so hard, so long ago.
I've already finished since I got down here. Finally found a way to get the comics without being a physical media hoarder, which I'm not. Ben showed me a way to get the comics. I already finished the entire follow-up to the season 3 finale. All of the Promise. I already finished the entire thing. Of course, it's very short. I didn't realize how short it was. It's only 80 pages, or give or take, a book, and there's only 3 parts to it.
Yeah.
So it's short, but it's like, oh wow, this is exactly what I wanted. I didn't want horror. I wanted more of this. And now that I know there's a way to find it, it's like, oh, okay, I'll be okay now.
Yeah, that's the thing though. This, like I said, they do a really good job world building, but the only world that they build was one that served the plot that they were trying to further.
Exactly.
Which is why this world is perfect for stuff like a graphic novel or a sequel series or anything like that.
Yep.
It's kind of like Star Wars in that way, where the world that was originally built, they laid out the rules, they gave you what you needed to know, and that's all you got.
Yep.
Anything beyond that, you might want to know, and granted, there's a lot more extended media for Star Wars than there is Avatar, at least right now. Hopefully that will change. But you can get you can get more of what you want, not just by watching the show, which is fantastic. But like I said, there's not a lot of series or anything that you can really get that out of. Star Wars, Star Trek, I don't know, maybe Aliens. There might be more that have deeper cuts for media, like Halo. I know has an entire book series, and there's a couple movies and stuff out there.
And I didn't even know that. And so we were at Books A Million, where we found the comics for Avatar. And then a little bit later on in our screwings, I looked and I see a Halo book. I'm like, wait, is this based on the video game, or did the video game come out first? Because I had no idea there was a Halo book at all. I was like, huh?
Oh, there's a whole series of Halo books. Some of them are adaptations of the game, and some of them are like extended universe sort of things, kind of like the Star Wars ones are. But
I gotcha.
So there is a lot of immediate properties that might have more extended lore, but I feel like Avatar is one that's definitely still ripe for the picking, because there's not a whole lot out there. You've got Legend of Korra, you've got the graphic novel book series.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it.
That's basically it, until we get more information as to what exactly is happening with the live action Netflix series.
I'm sincerely hoping that they're not going to try and just redo what they did with the animated series, because it would be cool to see it done in live action, done better than the movie.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah, I know. It would be cool to see it done well in live
Yes.
action, but at the same time, there's not really any point to redoing anything.
No, and I don't want anything to be redone.
No.
I am just fine with the way they wrapped up the series. Season 3 finale left one grievance with me.
Yeah.
And that was the question, what happened to Zuko's mother?
Mm-hmm.
Everything else got tied up perfectly. We see how Aang defeats Ozai,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't have to compromise his virtues at all in doing it.
Mm-hmm.
We get a pleasant ending between the relationship that they've hinted at almost the entire series between Aang and Katara.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody survived. Nobody's dead.
Yeah.
That counts. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
bye-bye, Zhao. You piece of crap. There's nothing left to tie up there.
Not really.
They did it perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that the only cliffhanger they left was what happened to Zuko's mother, which I really wanted a fourth season for. I was like, oh, why?
Well, apparently that's answered in these graphic novels.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So
it's in the promise is picking up exactly where the show ended.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's that scene right there. So it's perfect how they move forward in time, because that's only a year, give or take, of time passed between where they introduce the first clip in the comic and where they end it. And then the next comic is, I think, the answer to that question. So I want to hurry up and read that one too. I might have to give it a little bit of time, considering they cost money and I can't just go get it for free.
Yeah,
I want to, but
well, I'm sure there's ways you can get it for free, but
sure.
We're not necessarily advocating piracy on this show, so
Yeah. So I bought the first I bought the first few comic books, so I'll wait. But they do answer it, which is I don't know if I want a live action series of the comics, or if I want a continuation of the stories and adventures that are hinted after the comics leave off, but are hinted in The Legend of Korra. I don't think I want more Korra. Maybe a whole new story? I don't know what I want more. I don't know if I want a continuation of the original gang, or if I want a new...
For this Netflix adaptation, I feel like the right thing to do would be not to retread the original series. If they're going to do anything with the original series, they should just adapt the graphic novels.
Yes.
And continue with all that. If they weren't to do that, I think they should just not touch anything that they've already done and just do a sequel series to Legend of Korra.
A sequel series or a prequel series?
I think they need to go back and do a prequel. Yeah, because I mean, you already know what happened to Roku, his relationship with Sozin and everything.
Yeah, but you got like 10,000 years of
stories and legends. If they were going to go back, it should be back really far. I don't think they should do anybody that they talked about in the series. And they went all the way back to, they did Roku, Kyoshi, and then I think the two before that. They got all the way back to the Air Nomad before before Aang.
They did Korik, I think his name was, the last waterbender before Korra, and then we got to Yang Chen.
Yeah.
Avatar Yang Chen.
If they're going to
do the four before.
If they're going to do anything, they should not touch any of those.
Any of those.
And I mean, you don't really get a whole lot of backstory with the last two, the Waterbender and the Air Nomad.
But you know where it's going to go. You know where it's going to go.
Yeah, exactly. It's
just going to lead right into Roku, and if
Mhm.
anything leads into Roku, then it's just going to lead into the first series anyways.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I agree with you on that. I don't want anything near. If they're going to do a prequel, I don't want anything near the events of Avatar
Mhm.
at all.
Yeah,
It
I
needs to
think
be well before.
I think it
We've
would
got
be
stuff that has not been done. Period. Nothing's been discussed, or after.
yeah. I think it would be really cool to kind of to do the first Avatar. Because I know you did they mention anything like that
Yes.
in the
So
comics?
no, I don't think it's in the comics, but Korra does go into all of that.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Yeah. So how it's created.
Maybe
The
not
origin story
then.
for Wan is the first Avatar. The origin
Uh-huh.
story for Wan is covered in Korra.
Okay.
But the only decent thing that I got out of Korra that I've seen
Uh-huh.
is that.
Hmm.
And even that was shoddy at best because I didn't see all of it. That might be one of my biggest complaints with that is I never watched all of it in its entirety, and I might actually like it if I ever actually watched it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's hard to say. But what I did see of it didn't live up to the original series, and I just didn't want to continue.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, let's wrap up the third season discussion, then we'll get into the movie. Our many gripes with the movie.
I think we're trying to delay that.
Yeah. What would you give? What rating would you give the series overall out of 5?
Oh, jeez, we didn't do any of the ratings for any of the seasons either, did we?
No,
Okay.
that's fine.
That's fine.
I like to consider this as more of a whole instead of individual
Trying
seasons.
to break it up.
Yeah,
Okay, that's fine. The series as itself as an entirety.
Mm-hmm.
Oh Lord, you're gonna make me do this, aren't you?
You want me to go first? I've got mine.
You go ahead.
I'm gonna say that this series is a 4.5 for me. I enjoy this series, and especially watching it now because I haven't watched it in a good long time.
Yeah.
This is a 4.5 for me. I could go back and rewatch this hundreds of times. Will I be able to because of my wife because she hates this show for some reason? No, but I could.
Oof. If you cut out certain things, it would be a 5 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
In its entirety, the way it is, probably a solid 4.6.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's near perfect. I have grievances with a few things here and there, but overall, it was fantastically animated.
Mm-hmm.
I love the animation in it, which I don't
it
know if
got
I
even-
could watch it any other way, to be honest.
Yeah, it got even better as the series went on, too.
Yes.
Because the first season, the animation was a little rough here and
It's
there.
a little rough here and there.
And you can see, even watching the fight between Katara and Master Paku in that first season, and then watching the final fight between Aang and Ozai at the very
Aang.
end. Yes, Aang. Aang.
I listen to the movie too much.
Yes, I know. Aang and Ozai at the very end. There's a very, very clear difference in animation quality.
Yeah.
It is massive.
That entire the entire 4-part series finale of season 3 and series finale for the entire series.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's gold.
It's
I
gorgeous.
love
It is gorgeous.
Yeah, they did improve with the animation over time. There could be, and I'm just not thinking of any. But there's not one plot hole I've found in the entire series so far.
I can't think of anything.
I haven't seen anything where something happened here but couldn't be done here. Nothing. It's all connected so well. The attention to detail, as you pointed out when we were watching it, was just perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like there wasn't anything that I don't think that they accidentally overlooked from one episode to the next and kind of broke things a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike the movie, which broke things many a time,
Oh,
even
yes.
within the movie itself.
Oh, yes.
But and I love the voice acting. The entire I love all the acting in it. There's nothing I can complain about. With there's a few exceptions of certain filler episodes. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
even then, they're good.
Okay. So now on to the elephant in the room.
The train wreck.
Yes, the train wreck in the middle of the room, as it were. I don't know.
Oh.
The movie. I have.
Did you ever watch it before now?
No.
You've
Nope.
never seen it before.
I saw a review of it a while back,
Uh-huh.
but I didn't actually sit down and watch the movie.
So
you knew it was bad.
You knew what you were getting into, but you've never actually seen the movie and wasn't quite surprised to ask how bad it actually was.
I always thought that it was a little bit overblown. But sitting down and watching the movie, every criticism that has ever been laid onto that movie is 100% deserved.
Yes.
It is so bad. It breaks the rule. It breaks its own rules.
Yes.
Millions of times.
Millions of times.
Especially, my biggest gripe with this movie has to be the firebending.
Yes.
Because it can be beaten by every other form of bending. Every other form.
Bitched the entire movie.
It's so bad.
Firebending.
It's so bad. It's not. I would be okay if maybe it was a little bit more powerful, but it's not like they're making massive flames out of this little torch or whatever.
No, it sucks.
They're literally just, I'm gonna pull some flame out of this little pot over here and throw it at this guy. And if anybody in this movie would just think they could easily defeat any firebender,
and they did. That's the other big thing.
Yeah, in when they're in the Northern Water Temple, they're saying, "Oh, we should probably put out all the fire.
As fire as we possibly can."
Never mind that they're in a water city made out of ice that they could just melt and put out all the fires. But I guess that doesn't make any sense.
But not one single person makes the effort at all to douse any of the flames with any of the elements. You could use air easily, suffocate the flame. You can't have fire without oxygen. Easy, done. Dirt is very easily capable of putting out fires. You see Toph do it in the freaking series itself, where she's literally flipping over this giant slab of earth, putting out the fire from the comet used in Soccer Sword, one of the best episodes in that season, by the way. Sorry, we're going back to that. But anyways, you see them all do it. And of course, what's going to win? Water or fire? A wet torch is not going to stay lit, you think? And nobody does it.
And see, the biggest thing is they dumb down all of these characters because Katara, in the end, she's an extremely smart and capable person in the series.
Yes.
But at the end, it doesn't even occur to her to use the water that she's very slowly moving towards Zuko, by the way. That to not like use offensively against Zuko, but to just put out the flames that he's standing next to. That he created.
Done.
The battle would be won.
Done. You finished. And why didn't we do that in the series, I ask you? Because you could literally produce it from nothing. That's the whole point. None of the other elements work like that, and they didn't break any of the other elements like this in the movie.
Well, that's arguable because
did they break another element? Well, they did very very poor shoddy earthbending. I'll give you that. But did they break any of the other fundamentals?
I wouldn't say they've broken anything.
Any of them.
No,
at all. They all work the same way. I think the movie broke them all by how underwhelming they all were.
Yes.
Firebending, the most egregious example, because you couldn't produce it out of nothing.
The only person that could was Iroh at the very end.
General.
Oh, yes. Iroh. My bad.
Ugh.
That's another thing that I hate about this movie is the mispronunciation of half of the cast.
Almost everything. What did they...
Iroh. There was probably more, too.
Oh, it was a lot. Agni Ki.
Yes.
instead of Agni Kai. Everything. They butchered so many things. It wasn't
so
even funny.
bad. And then the the biggest fact is that all of the characters in Avatar are supposed to be some sort of indigenous people, and the Water Tribe is just straight up white.
Yep. And they did no justice to the movie as far as characters. The characters sucked.
Yes.
They did not follow the series at all. Their personalities were 100% different.
Katara is stupid. Sokka is 100% deadpan all the time.
Yep. There's no wit whatsoever.
No jokes at all.
No, absolutely not. So they did absolutely no justice to the characters. They did no justice to the source material whatsoever.
Yep.
When it came to bending. They did a lousy job of casting, I think, because of what you said. They literally did. They didn't try to have cultural heritage in it at all.
Yeah.
It was just, we'll just put together whatever we want, whoever we want. It lacked any cultural appropriate heritage whatsoever. They did a really lousy job of the actual direction of the movie itself. Like, it followed the series a little bit, sure, but I still think it sucked.
Yeah, no.
They had no respect at all for the, what was the biggest thing that they did that the direction, not, the directing of the movie. It sucked. You had these fight scenes that lasted a whole 90 seconds in one shot. One shot followed the entire fight. I got dizzy looking at it. It was like,
so bad.
Why? This is not how an action scene is supposed to work. You did this in one shot. You literally panned around like 720 degrees, getting all this, quote, fighting. And
fighting isn't even good.
No. I can 5 people to do one rock?
Yes. But beyond that, I can see maybe where it was trying to go. I could tell that it maybe was trying to imitate like the old kung fu movies that came out, where the action was maybe a little bit more stylized and they tried to throw the bending in there, but it does not work. No. It doesn't work at all.
Work at all. You had 5 seconds of martial arts movement.
Yeah.
Before you had any response to the element they were bending at all. It just looks so broken. You don't see 5 seconds of any action.
It seems
in
like
the series without an immediate response.
Exactly. It seems like the people in this movie have less of a mastery over an element and more like they're getting lucky when they happen to bend something. Yeah. It's so bad.
Even Ong in that movie is like, what kind of wimpy airbending is this?
Yeah,
you're supposed to be. This is the one element you're supposed to have mastered by now. You have the tattoos to prove it, which they did a lousy, shoddy job at the tattoos as well.
That was awful.
None of the styling in this movie looked good at all. Appa was ugly.
Yeah,
looked terrible.
He looked disgusting.
Zuko's scar wasn't even a scar.
No, it was like, I scratched myself.
Yeah, really. Looked like he had a rough night's sleep in one eye only. And exactly. It looked like bags more than anything else.
Yeah, 100%.
It had no coloration to it at all.
No.
Like, I think the only reason why I noticed it was because of the physical characteristics of the bags. I didn't see any of the coloration hardly. Like, you can see Zuko's from like 20 feet away in a shot that's got him on one side of the screen and somebody else on the other side of the screen in the series, and you can still clear as day see that scar as long as they got the right side of his face in view. But other than that, it's like, okay, fine, whatever. You didn't do anything to make this movie look good.
It barely looks like he got burnt. Like, he might have stuck his face too close to a frying pan or something, but that's about it.
Yeah, really. That's about what it looked like.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have anything positive to say about this
No,
movie?
I don't. I have
Can we
nothing.
challenge ourselves to find something
I have
good?
nothing positive to say about this movie. It is a piece of actual garbage.
You have one positive thing to say about the movie.
What? There's not any other ones.
They stopped one.
That's
We
it.
didn't have to continue.
It's the only good thing about the movie is the fact that it was so bad that they decided not to make any more.
Thank goodness
Thank
for that.
God.
You
Man.
did like the small change in lore that they did where they changed the timeline. The 3 years versus the span
that's the
that was
only
one
thing,
of the only
that's
good
the
things.
only thing that they did that makes more sense because supposedly the whole Avatar series, all 3 seasons, is supposed to take place over 8 months.
8-9 months, give or
Yeah,
take.
from the time that they find Aang to the time that Sozin's Comet happens at the end of the series is 8 months. And they mention in this movie that Sozin's Comet is going to happen in 3 years, which makes so much more sense in my head that all of this stuff that happens in the series were to have happened in 3 years rather than 8 months. And it gives Aang a little bit more time to mature as well.
Yes.
Could it easily have happened over 8 months? Absolutely. Does it necessarily make sense? But
You could have easily taken the time scale that they gave us in the movie and applied it to the series just fine. I don't think it would have lessened anything about how mission critical it was that he learned these elements in a timely fashion. Because every other Avatar that we've seen, they did a really good job of exploring Roku, mastering his elements.
Yeah, he took
like a
years.
12-year process that he went on or something like that.
He took years to master everything. Yeah.
So, I mean, crunching down Aang into 3 years, still would have been a huge time crunch compared to what everybody else has gotten. So, you easily could have done that just fine. And every other piece of lore that they changed in the movie, I hated. Every time they said something different than what the series said. Iroh's siege on Ba Sing Se was a 600-day siege. They knocked that down to 100 days in the movie.
Yep.
What sounds more grueling to you? 100 days trying to get to something or 600 days? What shows more determination?
I would think 600 days. Yeah.
Disrespected Iroh in every single way in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except for the fact that he respected the spirits.
Yeah.
Not the only thing that they...
And the fact that he was supposedly the most powerful firebender because he could create fire
out of nothing.
But even still.
No, that is not what made him special.
Yeah.
Anybody could have done it. I guess that was their way of making him special in the movie, sure. But a lot more, I think, more important ways that he was special in the series. His redirection of lightning that was his technique that he created. That's one of the ways they show how powerful he is. The Dragon of the West, breathing fire. That's one of the ways he's special. I think his knowledge and respect of the spirits is special. His whole character arc isn't as good as Zuko's, but he's the one I'd want to have a conversation with.
Iroh, let's be honest, Iroh doesn't really have that far to go.
No, he really doesn't.
In the series. I think he's already on the side of the Avatar. Maybe not all the way at the beginning of the series, but he's a lot closer to that than Zuko is at the beginning of the series.
Yeah. I mean, compared to everything else that he's done in the series, do you really think he tried his hardest even at the South Pole? The Southern Water? The little bit he did try to help Zuko shoot him down?
Yeah, I don't think so.
He could have done a better job.
I'm sure.
I think he could have done a better job.
I'm sure he could have.
He helped, and he was supportive, sure, but pretty sure if he wanted to, he could have accomplished it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think there's really anything else I want to say about this movie. There was one thing that I was going to mention, but I can't remember it now.
Series, movie?
About the movie.
Bending.
No.
Character arc.
I don't remember what it was.
Craptastic Avatar State.
That's what it was.
Okay.
About the Avatar state. Yeah. The fact that they removed, they basically, they didn't nerf the Avatar state because he could still do pretty powerful bending, like that giant wave at the end or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Still not as impressive as the giant fish monster, in my opinion. But as far as the movie is concerned, it is a impressive amount of bending. But the fact that they changed the Avatar state from him channeling all of the previous avatars to him having a way to communicate to the spirit world, I don't know. It doesn't really gel well with me. The Avatar state and his
mechanism that it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Now, is it?
No. The Avatar state and his meditation state are supposedly two separate things.
And
he can still commune.
He's able to control right off the bat his meditation state for the most part.
Yeah.
That is completely separate than the Avatar state, where at the beginning he's got no control of whatsoever.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's purely a defense mechanism designed to save his butt.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I would almost say they nerfed it.
Yeah.
A little bit. But they nerfed everything in this movie so hard that I don't... In comparison to everything else, then no, it's not really nerfed. Because he did do the best bending we've seen in the entire movie during the Avatar state. But considering everything else we'd seen, it really wasn't that special. I'm with you. The fish monster was better.
Yeah.
I liked the size of the wave, and it was very impressive.
In the context of the movie. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's anything else that needs to be said about this movie. It's a piece of hot garbage. I will say this: if you haven't seen it, you should see it just to watch the train wreck, but never watch it again because I know I won't.
I have seen bits and tiny pieces of it when I think it was probably the first. I don't know if this movie... I think this movie went straight to theaters, then made its way to Nickelodeon. I know I saw it when it came to television.
Yeah.
I know I didn't like it then either. But now I know why I didn't like it. Because I never once gave it another shot, and I've avoided it this entire time, knowing full and well what I was getting into. And it's like, okay, fine, we'll watch it.
It was bad. It was so bad.
Put pins and needles in my eyes, and I would have been in less pain.
Oh, man.
Okay. I yelled and cringed at everything. I got mad every 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah. We both did. Neither of us was happy with this movie at all.
Not one thing made me happy.
So with that said, what would you give the movie out of 5?
Is there a negative rating? Can we do a negative rating?
You can do whatever you want to do.
Well, okay. We can't do a negative rating. 0 to 5 or 1 to 5? Can we do a 0?
Oh, I was gonna give it a 0.
It's a 0.
Yeah,
it's a 0. It's a solid 0.
It disrespects it disrespects everything that the series put forth.
Yes,
and the thing is, it only covered the first season.
Wow. Maybe if we'd done a better job, we could have gotten the other movies we were supposed to get. Yeah,
exactly.
I don't want to say this is why I don't want a live action version of Avatar, because that's not why this movie sucked.
Yeah. The reason this movie was terrible is because the person that was writing it and directing it and producing it, namely one M. Night Shyamalan, clearly had no respect for the source material whatsoever. I don't know if he just looked up a Wikipedia article and he took the plot synopsis from there, and then he was like, "Oh, I'll expand this out into an hour and a half."
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand how you could have such nearly perfect source material and ruin it so bad. Like you have the source material.
Even if you didn't get the plot 100% right, just leave the world building alone. Leave the bending the way it was. Leave the Avatar state the way it was. The meditation state the way it was. I think it would have been at least a decent movie.
Yeah, I'm okay. I wouldn't have been nearly as upset to the interpretation of how things are pronounced or the interpretation of how the plot should have gone,
Mm-hmm.
or anything else, if you hadn't broken everything else up until that point,
Mm-hmm.
if it was theologically, you know what I'm trying to say.
Theoretically?
No, theatrically.
Theatrically.
Theatrically good looking.
Mm-hmm.
I may have even gotten over some of the other things, but nothing in this movie looked good at all. It just was, ugh. You broke everything.
It was bad.
So, Shyamalan, you suck. You really do. I wonder how many other movies he's butchered.
Okay. I don't want to say that M. Night Shyamalan is an awful director. In this instance, he was terrible, but he has created movies that I've liked. Like Unbreakable, Split, and Glass. That like little trilogy of movies that he did. Okay. Those were all pretty good.
Of those.
I think I have Unbreakable. I don't think I have Split or Glass. But all three of them are pretty decent. Okay. But anyway, he is not the greatest director. He has created stuff that I've liked. In this instance, terrible. You screwed up. Yes.
Something bad.
Anyways, we're going to give this movie a 0 out of 5. I think we're pretty unanimous on that.
About that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, that's where we're going to leave it. I don't want to talk about this movie anymore. Thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure to leave a rating on whatever podcasting platform you happen to be listening on. And yeah, we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks for listening to this episode of Podcast Period. This episode was hosted and produced by Ben and co-hosted and edited by David. You can contact Ben on Twitter at BenPlaysVidges. That's BenPlays, VIDYAS. And you can contact David on Twitter at Car6by16. If you'd like to chat with us about any of the topics on this episode, you can hit up the show at Podcast Period on Twitter, or shoot us an email at podcastperiodpodcast@gmail.com. We also have a new website that has launched featuring new articles written by us, as well as links to all the episodes. Please visit that at podcastperiod.com. Want to do more for the show, but aren't sure how? We have a Patreon for that. For as little as $1 a month, you can get early access to episodes and so much more, and support the show while doing it. Just go to patreon.com/podcastperiod. Do you love sci-fi movies and shows? So do we. That's why we created the Podcast from Planet X, a podcast where we analyze and discuss your favorite pieces of sci-fi media. Check it out at the link in the show notes. That's all for this week. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
This was a Nerdgasm Podcast production.
Well, that was another in a long series of regrettable life choices.
Served at nerdgasmpodcast.com.